The extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it. So if you are not doing everything you can every day to reach that goal, then you have some resistance. So just allowing yourself to be honest. It's not a judgmental thing. Don't judge yourself for having resistance. It's just old programming, old misunderstandings.
The whole process of earning money was very intense and it was hard. And my stepdad worked his ass off and my dad worked his ass off. And it was all like money was scarce. And it was, if you wanted it, you had to work to the bone. And so I think, for me, I think part of that programming is when I feel some resistance about wealth, it's because it feels subconsciously, it feels really hard. Hey, Brad, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Amber. I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. One of the things when I started my healing journey about 5 years ago, tapping was a healing modality that was brand new to me. But I have found it to be very powerful in my life. I will say that I am not one that is taps on the regular, which I probably should, especially given my high levels of anxiety all the time. But I know there's a lot of listeners out there who are not familiar with tapping. So I want to just start there. Can you share exactly what is tapping?
Yeah. So tapping, and it's also sometimes known as EFT, emotional freedom techniques, is a very simple mind-body tool based on acupuncture. And we're literally just tapping with our fingertips on different places, primarily around the face and torso. And I know that for anyone who's new to this, it might seem like, okay, that is strange. Why on earth would I make that part of my daily routine? So it's originally based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they have said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways that are called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. When this energy gets stuck or disrupted in some way, then we don't feel as good. We don't think as clearly. We don't make the best choices. And that has all kinds of unfortunate consequences for us. So this process, rather than sticking needles in our face, which is how a traditional doctor would use it, we're just stimulating those points by tapping with our fingertips to get that healthy flow of energy going. And in terms of stress and anxiety, this is one of the simplest, easiest ways to do it. It's a very quick way to do it, to calm down the nervous system and allow ourselves to think more clearly, make better choices in terms of our health, in terms of our eating, in terms of our success, our money situation, whatever else it might be. When we clear the stress that comes up, when we try to make changes, we have greater freedom to make different choices and get better results.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's new to this and who's a little bit skeptical, I mean, obviously one of the great things, or one of the things I'm excited to do today is we're going to actually take the listeners through an exercise. But, I was skeptical too, but I can tell you, I don't have to tell you, this is your work, but I'll tell for me, in case anyone's listening who's skeptical, it really, it has the power for me personally to bring me from like a level 8 of just feeling very, very super stressed and very overwhelmed where I'm not thinking clearly. And it allows me to just emotionally and physically calm down though. And for me, that's where the clarity comes in. Like when I can, when I can really just, kind of take it down a notch, then I'm able to connect better with my inner voice and spend kind of a little bit more even keeled quality time with myself, really kind of processing some of these emotions.
Yeah, because what happens when something triggers so the amygdala in our midbrain looks for threats. When that gets triggered, we go into fight or flight, and the prefrontal cortex, where our creative, rational mind is, goes bye-bye, and now we're going into habits. So if we're trying to be healthier, but if I get into a stressful situation, something upsets me, this is gone, and I'm now thinking, what's my go-to? My go-to has always been potato chips or donuts or whatever our old behavior patterns. It could be watching reality TV or whatever it might be that we fall back on, because we're not now thinking about what are my goals, what do I really want to do to get there. I'm just in survival mode, and it may be at a very subtle level. we're all carrying ambient levels of stress that we're not even acknowledging. Especially because most of us are walking around with a little device that's constantly telling us, here's something else to be upset about. And we just take it for granted. It's like, oh, that's just life. But every time that's happening, at some level, we're lowering our ability to think clearly and make better choices.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, I'm curious, how did you, I know I was reading a little bit about your story and that you were initially doing hypnotherapy, right? And then how did you come to discover, EFT tapping, and how has it worked for you in your life?
Yeah. How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living?
Right. That's what I'm getting
Yeah. So
at.
actually, I started as an actor. And I had traveled the world doing theater, came to Hollywood to be a movie star, as one does. And while I was there, met a woman, fell in love, and got married. And when our first child was on the way, I thought, I might need a backup career. So that's how I got into hypnotherapy. I saw an ad for a hypnotherapy school. Thought, oh, I've always been interested in the power of the mind. That looks cool. And after doing that for a couple of years while still pursuing my acting career, when our second child was on the way, I realized this is what I'm really supposed to be doing. This personal development work is really my calling. Mm-hmm. And through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this energy psychology conference where this guy was teaching this technique with tapping. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. In my training as an actor, I had gone to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College. So this was not the strangest thing I'd ever done. So maybe a little more open than the average person. And when in the process of learning this, was just fascinating and could see results happening, especially when one of the things that Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, who was leading this workshop, gave everybody pieces of chocolate, and we tapped on chocolate cravings. And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time. And he said, scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want this chocolate? And I'm like, 8, 9. And we just tapped for a few minutes on wanting that chocolate. By the end, I couldn't eat it. I had as much interest in the chocolate as I did the foil wrapper. And I didn't eat chocolate for 2 years after that. I recovered, don't anyone worry. But I can easily go back into that. And so there's no willpower involved. It's just like, yeah, I just am not interested in having that. So I was thinking, wow, there's in a few minutes to go from a 9 or a 10 craving down to no desire to eat it at all. I was like, there's something really interesting about this. So after the conference, I started introducing it into my hypnotherapy sessions. Just at the end, it's like, hey, we've got a few more minutes. I just want to show you this little technique. And then little by little, it became my main modality. And then YouTube came around and I thought, hey, that would be a great thing, is to have a tapping video. And I created one video thinking that's all I was going to do. And now I have like 1,200 of them.
Sure. And a huge platform over there. And I love that. Okay. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. As soon as you said, I did this thing and I didn't want chocolate and then I didn't want it for 2 years, I guarantee you, there's about, there's thousands of women that just all of a sudden stop dead in their tracks. They're like, okay, Brad, let's go back to that specifically. Like, I'm so curious, what did that, because I've never used tapping typically for me, it's when I've used it when I'm like anxious about something, right? Like when I'm really obsessing over and I'm feeling really stressed out about it. And I'll use that technique for that, but I've never used it for even just in the moment, like of a craving. So please walk the listeners through, what did that look like? What were you saying? How did that work?
Yeah. So Amber, those are not two separate things, because most of the time when we are eating things that are bad for us, it's because we have some kind of anxiety and we're trying to comfort it. So in that moment,
is chocolate bad for us? Is chocolate bad for us? Can we just pause there for a minute? You're ruining, you're crushing every woman's hopes and dreams right now. No, but I know what you're saying.
And it depends. I occasionally enjoy chocolate. It's
right. But when you are overeating it and it's really outside of alignment with kind of what your goals are and all that. Absolutely.
If it's interrupting your goals, and there's plenty of information on how sugar is not great for our body.
Absolutely.
Moderation in all things. Unless for some people, for health reasons, sugar just needs to be off the table. Chocolate is like dogs. Dogs should not eat chocolate. So, but a lot of us humans really it has sugar has an effect on us, and it's like, it's just better to not have any. And sometimes complete abstinence is easier than moderation.
It is true. And I will say too, even I've had the sugar debate. I mean, I've had lots of experts on here related to sugar, and it is one of those things, just like alcohol. There are just some people where literally moderation is just not an option. It is
Exactly.
sugar can be, and I want to normalize that for a lot of the listeners, because I think sugar doesn't get kind of for a lot of people, it doesn't get into that bucket necessarily as alcohol. Everyone, and then they beat themselves up because they can't moderate. But for some people, the way that their body chemistry, they really just cannot moderate it, and that's okay too. So especially for
Yeah.
somebody, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not all the same, and you could say, I mean, the whole debate about gluten, and it's like, there are people saying nobody should be eating gluten, and it's like, forget man does not live by bread alone. Man should not have bread at all. Some people are. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay. So we find what works for us. There are different things that we have allergies to, and or unhealthy relationships with, and so we want to find what works, and allow ourselves to be honest with ourselves about, okay, am I really in control of this, or is this difficult for me, and maybe I really need to just take a break. And so the what happens is, when we are making a choice that's not healthy for us, then there's a stress response that's going on. Something inside of us is trying to take care of us. So the key thing is, self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. If you are sabotaging yourself by eating foods that are not in line with your goals, it is stop beating up on yourself, please. Be compassionate with yourself, because it is an act of self-love. Some part of you saying, yes, I know, moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. I know all of those things. I know there will be consequences down the line. But in this moment, I am feeling discomfort. And my old training tells me chocolate is happiness. Chocolate is parties. Chocolate is holidays. Chocolate is Professor Lupin saying, this will make you feel better after you've seen Dementor, whatever it might be. There, we have all these messages that chocolate is medication, or whatever it might be. Cookies, bagels, pizza. We have our different things. So when it's no longer a, hey, you know what, I'm choosing to enjoy this, and then but I'll have it in moderation. I'll have it once in a while, or I'm using this as medication. And what the body is really looking for is some way to calm down a stress response. And as you were saying, it's a very simple way to calm down the stress response. And that's basically what the tapping is doing. It's hitting certain places in the body that send a calming signal to the brain. And as we allow ourselves to relax, we can say, okay, is this really what I want? No, it isn't in the moment. And when Gary took us through that tapping round that first time, he was just saying things like, oh, I really want this chocolate. It's going to taste so good. Yum, yum, yum. Just all kinds of thoughts around that, and calm down the stress response such that there was no more emotional craving. And it was just a matter of, okay, in the moment, yeah, why? That's just empty calories. I really don't need that at the moment. I'm good. And so why have it now?
And so when you are when you are doing tapping, like, so when you did it for the chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you did it for chocolate, did you do just one round where you were, or was it multiple rounds? I'm just so curious, because I've interviewed different guests on tapping, and I feel like there's different ways of doing it. So perhaps even maybe you could even clarify for the listeners, especially for those who are maybe familiar with tapping or maybe even new. Let's just break down the process of kind of like what what happens. And then we can go back to this chocolate example,
Yeah.
because we're not off the hook with this. There's still women listening that are like, wait a minute, Brad, we didn't get specific on this one. So we're probably going to have to use that as our example when
Perfect.
when we do the live one. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, there are all kinds of different schools of thought. There's different strokes for different folks. I often do very long tapping rounds, and there are some people it's like, oh no, a tapping round should be really quick. But there are a lot of people who say, no, it's going through I go deeper and deeper with each round. So there's no one right way, although there will people who get very precious about their taking, and that's fine, however people want to do it. EFT is a very forgiving process. It's a very simple process. So I don't recall now, this is 24 years ago that I went through that session with Gary. We may have gone a couple of rounds through, but tapping it, if you think of it like washing your hands, if you just wash your hands for a few seconds, your hands are going to get cleaner. They may not be totally clean, especially depending on whether you've just been, doing some gardening and you have a little bit of dirt on your hands, or you've been working on your car and you've got grease on your hands. It's going to take longer to be really effective. But even just a few moments of tapping is going to calm the anxiety down. So we'll look at what's disturbing us and rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. So if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling stressed out, if I'm feeling anger, whatever, I try to identify, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? And I may be more aware of it as a physical sensation. I may not be totally sure of how to label the emotion, but I might say, I don't know what it is, but I feel this pounding in my heart, or I feel this tension in my shoulders. So we'll identify the disturbance that we're experiencing and then rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. So just as Gary said with the chocolate, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you want this? Wow, it's an 8 or a 9. And then we'll do the setup. And so we'll take that statement of, even though I want this chocolate, even though I feel this anxiety, even though I feel this tension in my shoulders, I choose to love and accept myself. So we want to stay at a level of self-acceptance, because as human beings, we're taught to deny what we're feeling. Just get over it. Pretend everything's fine. I'm fine. That 4-letter F word. And so we're, going down a bad path, telling ourselves and everybody else, I'm fine. So it's saying, I love myself, even though I'm acknowledging that I'm feeling this stress, this craving. And we'll do that by tapping on the side of the hand. So if you take the fingertips of your index and middle finger, and the meridians run up and down both sides of the body. So you can tap with either hand on either side, or you can tap both sides at the same time. But just for the sake of demonstration, go ahead and take your dominant hand and gently tap on the edge of your opposite hand, right between your wrist and your pinky. Mm-hmm. And that's where we'll do the setup statement. Even though I have this craving, I choose to love and accept myself. Or even though I have this stress, whatever it might be. And we'll say that 3 times. We're just creating an opening, just saying, okay, I'm accepting myself even though I have this disturbance. And then we'll go through these 8 points. So right here at the beginning of your eyebrow, right near the center of your face, and we gently tap each of these points, generally between 5 and 10 times. Don't worry about counting. It's not an exact number. And we'll repeat the reminder phrase. So all of this craving, or all of this stress. Then we follow the eyebrow out to the side of the eye. So right there at the corner of your eye socket, all this craving. Right under the middle of your eye, all this craving. Right under your nose, just above your upper lip, all this craving. Right under your lower lip, just above your chin, all this craving. Now right here where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat. And you can actually tap with all of your fingertips, or even make a fist and tap over both collarbone points. All this craving. Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit. It's right about bra strap level. So even if there are guys listening right now, they can probably figure out where that is too. All this craving. And then finally, the top of the head. So with all of your fingertips, just tapping around in circles around the crown of your head. All this craving. Then you take a deep breath. and check again. And so this craving, this stress, this anger, this tension in my shoulders, whatever it might be, I would rate that again. And sometimes it'll go from an 8 to a 0 like that, just like for me, the chocolate craving did. Results vary because of what's going on inside our mind, where we might be at. Sometimes it'll go like that to a 0. Sometimes it'll just go from an 8 to a 7.75. But even going down a little bit might help you stop yourself from taking some unfortunate action. And when we're tapping, it's often like peeling the layers of the onion, and we get more clarity. Like I said, when we're in a place of stress, our prefrontal cortex is gone. And as we allow ourselves to relax, and tapping while talking about this helps us calm down, and we start to get clarity and go, oh, it's not even the chocolate that I want. I'm just nervous about this report that I have to present tomorrow. And I'm just looking for a way to distract myself and give myself some little bit of happiness right now. But what I really need to do is work on that report. And actually, I have some ideas about what to do with that. And so we start to get this, like, now I'm shifting back to where I really want to be. So we want to pay attention to that. Or we may just become more aware of, oh my goodness, I remember this time when I was in the 4th grade and something really upsetting happened. And my dad took me out for ice cream and said, here, this will help you feel better. And I just had this association of, yeah, when things are down, go have ice cream or go have chocolate or whatever it might be. And Dad meant the best, but I just made an unfortunate association there. And now we can let go of years of programming.
Yeah, I love that. I know for me too, when I've done tapping, particularly around like working through anxiety in the moment, what's been helpful for me is doing an initial kind of round, like we just walk through about just simplifying it, just, the cravings, tapping as you're talking about all the cravings. And then for me, I was able to then, when I got to a place of a little bit of calm, then do another round of tapping and really like maybe working through, like, not particularly around craving, but let's say if I was like, stressed out about like, I'm, finding a job or whatever, I would really like one by one go through what are kind of like knocking off all the fears. Well, if I don't get a job, then, is that, can you maybe share a little bit about that, kind of what that looks like for the listeners as well?
Absolutely. And that's how I like to do it. And in the longer rounds, I'm able to explore more. So, I was just showing the very basic version of EFT where you repeat the same statement to make it easy, because if we launch into it and we're talking about all the things, then people look at it and say, wow, this is a really confusing process. I wouldn't know what to say. It's like, don't even worry about it. You can just tap the point silently, and that will bring your stress down. Focusing on using the reminder phrase helps us stay focused on the issue so that we don't get distracted and lose. So it's like if you spill something on your carpet, we're saying the words so that we stay in the area where the spill is, as opposed to just going around and now vacuuming all over the living room, which is fine. It's still going to clean things up, but it's most effective if we stay focused on where the primary mess is. So that's what the wording is for. And just as you were saying, Amber, allowing yourself to explore. And that's what I like to do in the longer rounds, is sort of leaving no stone unturned. It's like, what might be going on here? What might be causing this anxiety? What might be behind this craving? What am I upset about such that I feel a need to comfort myself? And just exploring. And you can't get it wrong. So it's a very forgiving process, just allowing yourself to go, okay, I'm just going to talk about what else might be going on. What could be behind this fear? What exactly am I afraid of? What happens if I do this report and it doesn't go well? What happens if I do this report and it goes really well? And I get the attention of the senior partners, and I get a promotion, and I have more responsibilities and greater expectations. There's all kinds of fears that could be going on that we're not even aware of, but we hold in our bodies. And that's why having the tapping is so important, because our emotions it's a somatic experience. It's visceral. We feel it in our bodies. And so often we're just doing talk therapy, which has all kinds of benefits, but it's only dealing with part of where the problem is. So we want to go
Yes.
to the body
Yes.
where we're holding on to the stress.
Yeah. Well, how does this work with addiction?
Yeah, for 3 years I taught EFT at Sacramento Drug Court for people coming out of prison for drug related offenses, teaching EFT as a recovery tool, because one of the primary drivers of addiction is stress and anxiety, and looking to self
Mm,
medicate. So this gives folks another tool. It's like, oh, rather than turning to my former drug of choice, I can allow myself to work through what I'm feeling just by calming down my nervous system. So,
right.
we could just say addiction is a craving on steroids. And
Yeah.
so it's allowing ourselves to find a healthier solution to what is driving the addiction.
And it's so funny. I've even seen, like even prison, there's a lot of prisons across the US that are starting to incorporate like teaching the inmates tapping as tools.
Yes, the HARP program on TikTok.
Yeah, like total. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
they're
like
blowing
when,
up on TikTok. I interviewed Carrie, who runs that program, on my show. Just amazing what she's doing. And the ladies are fantastic doing these videos, and how it's helpful for them in terms of their recovery in all kinds of different ways.
yeah, hang on one second, Brad. The sound went out for a second. I just want to make sure something, my editors will get this, but can you speak? Let me just make,
Testing 1, 2, 3.
yeah, I don't understand. It's like you just,
Am I not
I
coming
don't
through
think it's
clearly?
me, but I wonder,
You can't hear me?
let's just, I can hear you. It just like all of a sudden it just like adjusted.
Oh,
Um, that's okay. I think we'll be okay. I don't know why that happened. That was so weird. Huh. Yeah. Okay. I'm just waiting. I think my editors will get this, so that's okay. We'll go back in. Yeah. But like, so everything on your end, you're saying like nothing. Your mic. Did your mic come loose? Can you just make sure your mic's plugged? Is it
uh,
everything's fine? Oh wait, you're
yeah,
muted now.
I should be unmuted.
Okay. Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it says it should be
Okay.
all good.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the weird. Huh. Okay. Well, that's all right. We'll pick this back up. That's fine. There was just like a shift in your sound for some reason. And like now it's a little bit lower, but I think it's going to be okay. So,
Okay.
okay. So we'll just pick this back up. Um, okay. So yeah, the TikTok video with the prisoners, I love that. I love that you were interviewing her, got to interview her and stuff. It's just so crazy, especially for people, I think in this health and wellness space, I am so submersed in all of this, which, I'm very familiar with what we're talking about, but it's just so awesome to see how these types of, healing modalities are really just transcending, and helping people, that are not used to these kinds of techniques.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
It was very interesting when I was working at drug court, because it was a very different audience for me. So I walked in,
Yeah, I can.
and these people are looking at me, and I say, "Hey, okay, guys, now we're going to tap on her face," and there was some resistance from some folks, but the folks that played along saw, wow, this really makes a difference. It's like, that's why they brought me in here. This is not just further punishment because you committed a crime.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you also talk about though how it can help, we talked a little bit about how it can improve somebody's health. What about how does it relate to maybe helping somebody improve their health, their wealth and their relationships?
Yeah. I always come from the standpoint that the extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it. So we may say, I want better relationships. I want more money. I want better health. But we are resisting it. And people will say, oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's like, all right, well, so if I followed you around, I would see that you were doing everything you possibly could to move towards the goals that you consciously say you want to improve your wealth. I wouldn't catch you under earning. I wouldn't catch you spending poorly. I wouldn't catch you eating things you shouldn't eat. Well, maybe. It's like, great. That's resistance. And again, going back to self-sabotage is misguided self-love. I'm trying to protect myself. So, people have their vision boards like, oh yeah, here's my dream vacations and my yacht and whatever. And so my conscious mind, 5 to 10% of my mind, is getting all excited about that. But the other 90 to 95% is thinking, well, money is the root of all evil, and rich people are greedy, and you don't want to be a bad person. So you can go ahead and fantasize about that all you want, but we're going to make sure it doesn't happen. And so we're going to make sure that you skip that job interview that could, get that really great job. We're going to make sure you just kind of forget to get there. And then they say, no, thanks, you only got one chance. And so we brilliantly stop ourselves from getting there. And again, going back to the thing of don't beat yourself up, be compassionate with yourself, because you are brilliantly stopping yourself from getting those things you say are your goals, because some part of you says it's not safe. So I have some old programming like this idea that money is the root of all evil. And I'll have people say, oh, I absolutely want more money. And I'll have them just say that phrase and say, how do you feel? And they'll be in tears, or they'll say, oh yeah, I just get this tightness. Great. Now you know why you don't have that money, because you are brilliantly stopping yourself from something that you have been convinced is wrong. And we can tap through that and recognize, okay, I'm clearing the stress around this belief that it's wrong to have money, because that's a misunderstanding. It's not even an accurate quote. It's the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It's very different meaning, but people have simplified it. And so as we clear that and recognize, oh, okay, I don't have to be greedy. I can allow myself to be wealthy and do it in a way that I'm just honestly sharing my work. I love tapping on money issues, not because I'm a money hungry person. It's like, everybody should be rich and driving, fancy sports cars. It's because money generally comes in exchange for us sharing our gifts and talents. And if we have a block to money, one of the best ways for us to resist money is to not share our gifts and talents. And that's what I won't stand for. I want everybody out there sharing their gifts to make the world a better place. So it's like, let's clear up all this stuff about why it's wrong to have money so that you are free to be out there and share your gifts and talents as much as possible, even if it means more money comes to you.
As we're talking, what comes up for me, and I think what can be really powerful is just what you said a minute ago about like just saying the statement of the thing you want. And if you notice any sort of, like you said, tightness or any sort of, emotion change or energy change or ever, because I think a lot of times what happens is, we talk a lot about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. And obviously, if we knew what was going on in our subconscious brain, then we would have those conscious thoughts and we'd be able to figure it out. So it's almost like, it's tough to know sometimes, like what's really the driving fear. And it can take a lot of work, right? And so I think that that's such a powerful thing to say of, even if someone's listening to this and they've got some body transformation goals, some weight loss goals, or they do want to make more money and they don't necessarily know, well, let's just actually go with the more money phrase, right? You want to make more money, but you don't necessarily know, this goes back to old programming of mine because I think, the money is the root of all evil, whatever. I love that the idea of just first saying I want more money, and then just seeing what comes up, even if you don't have a connection to it. If you're experiencing any sort of sensation other than excitement in your body or a positive feeling, then it's something worth looking into, right? I know for me, for the longest time, the idea of wanting more money, it wasn't that I believed that the money was the root of all evil. It was more of like, I think I experienced tension or like a little bit of fear because I felt like I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like I felt like it wasn't going to happen for me or whatever. And that
Right.
goes back to like worthiness issues and not believing I'm good enough and all of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. When worthiness issues, the feeling that we're not good enough is probably the biggest thing that troubles people. Actually, this would be probably a great thing for us to tap on. And we can
Okay.
do it around money or wealth. So what I'm going to ask folks to do is close your eyes, unless you're driving. Take a deep breath in and hold it, and let it go. So you just allow yourself to be right here, right now, as present as possible. And just following your breath through your body, just allow yourself to be aware of what's going on in there. And I want you to think about some goal that you have. It could be a financial goal. So imagining what you would do with that money, or maybe just, looking at the house you'd have, or a car, or maybe just looking at your online bank statement, some representation of, I've achieved this goal. If it's a weight loss goal, imagine yourself looking in a full length mirror or looking at the bathroom scale. Whatever it is, whatever goal you might like to focus on at the moment, imagine yourself having that. And just following your breath through your body, say, it's safe for me to have this. And let that rattle around inside and notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how true that feels. Now, some of you are going to be tempted to say, oh, it's a 10. And I'm going to say, check again. Because again, the extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it. So if you are not doing everything you can every day to reach that goal, then you have some resistance. So just allowing yourself to be honest. It's not a judgmental thing. Don't judge yourself for having resistance. It's just old programming, old misunderstandings. You don't even need to know what they are right now, but allow yourself to be aware of anything that might come to mind, any thoughts, beliefs, or memories about why you couldn't or shouldn't handle having a different body, having more money, whatever it might be. Just notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how much resistance might be there, where you feel it in your body. And take a deep breath, open your eyes, and just tap where I tap and repeat back what I say. And for anyone who's just listening to this by audio, feel free to tap, at the beginning, we'll be tapping on the side of the hand and then just tap through the different points. And if you're only tapping on one point, that's fine. You can go back and watch a YouTube video later and see where the different tapping points are. But any tapping you do is going to be beneficial. So even though I might have some resistance, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I might have some resistance, I choose to love and honor myself. Even though I might have some resistance to reaching these goals, to having what I say I want, I might also have some resistance to acknowledging that I have any resistance. Because that's a great way to stay stuck in my comfort zone. And even though I might have some resistance, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Tapping the eyebrow point. All this resistance, all this resistance, all this fear of reaching my goal. And part of me might be saying, what on earth is he talking about? I'm not afraid of reaching my goal. I have it on a vision board. I'm absolutely committed to reaching this goal. Okay, maybe I do some things that move me in the wrong direction. or I stop myself from doing things that would move the needle. But I'm sure it's not fear or resistance. And I choose to process this. I choose to be open to the possibility that as much as I think I want this goal, whether it's more money or less weight, or anything else I believe I want, part of me says it would be wrong to have it. Part of me might say I don't deserve it. Part of me might be saying it's not safe for me to have it, based on old misunderstandings, based on things I experienced, based on things people have told me. So I choose to love and appreciate that part of me that might be stopping me from reaching this goal. And I'm clearing this fear from every fiber of my being, in body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. Let it go. And now with your eyes closed again, think about having that goal and say it's safe for me to have this. And rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 again. And hopefully the resistance has come down, the fear has come down, the enthusiasm has come up. And again, peeling the layers of the onion, just notice any thoughts or memories that might have come up. And you might have had some thought of, oh my God, I totally remember this thing that happened when I was 15 years old. And I made this decision that I should never make this amount of money, or I should never be at this, or whatever. And then you can keep processing that and keep tapping through until you feel that freedom to make those healthy choices and take those healthy actions that move you towards what you really want.
I love that, Brad. Thank you so much. It's really interesting. I was reminded even in that short time, and this is a thing too, and I think you'll agree with this, like when you do inner work and you're really working to change your subconscious, sometimes you go through periods where you feel like you got it all worked out and then old patterns will creep up again and you kind of got to go through it again, right? And so for me, I'm in a season where I'm, up level, taking my business to a new level that I've not been before. And it's really exciting. But some things are coming up for me as well, even around wealth. And what's interesting, even in that second, that just in those few moments where we did that exercise, what came up for me, and it was a reminder that I've worked through this before, but it's been a long time and it's creeping back up again, is, I grew up and my parents did not have money. At all. And I was taught from a very young age that you had to work really hard for money, that you had to, like, money didn't come easy. Money didn't grow on trees. Money didn't come easy. It didn't flow to you. And so the whole process of earning money was very intense and it was hard. And my stepdad worked his ass off and my dad worked his ass off. And it was all like money was scarce. And it was, if you wanted it, you had to work to the bone. And so I think, for me, I think part of that programming is when I feel some resistance about wealth, it's because it feels subconsciously, it feels really hard.
It feels really hard.
And that's something that,
we have this equation in our mind of how many calories of effort do we have to burn for how many dollars?
Yeah.
And if that equation was real, Jeff Bezos would be dead, because you could not humanly work that many. So what happens is these, and in fact, I'll encourage folks to keep tapping either collarbone or tapping through different points for whatever might be coming up as we talk about this. These people who taught us these things were teaching us what they knew. And they were not going to say, look, it doesn't have to be this hard to make money, but I'm just an idiot. So I
Right.
just thrive
Right.
on working harder than is necessary. You could go ahead, you could go and make money by working smarter rather than harder, but I don't have that capacity. No one's going to say that.
Right.
This is my
Right.
reality. It is hard, and so, and then there's a part of us that says they worked so hard to feed me, to clothe me, to house me. If I prove them wrong by making more money without hurting myself, it's a betrayal of them. So
Mm,
it would be wrong to have money that was a betrayal of the people who raised me. And that's a
mm.
misunderstanding. It's like, no, the best way that I can honor the people who raised me is to live the best life possible and allow myself to have the freedom and the opportunities to make the biggest difference. And if I'm stuck in this mentality of, I have to work this hard for this much money, and that limits how much I can grow and how much I can serve, that's not honoring them in a really healthy, expansive way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brad, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so glad I got to have you on today and really share your life's work with my audience. I know again, this was a good reminder for me that I need to bring back tapping on a daily basis for me, and not just in times of when the house is on
It's
fire,
like brushing your
because
teeth.
I do.
Clean your teeth
Yeah,
before you have
exactly.
cavities, not don't wait until you have cavities and go, oh, I should probably brush my teeth.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well, Brad, where can the listeners reach out to you and find you and just learn more about you and what you do?
Oh, thanks, Amber. Probably the best place is my website, tapwithbrad.com. And if you go there, there's a free 5-day program called Success Beyond Belief. So it's not just, wow, success beyond belief. That's a lot of success. It's, yes, but it's the success beyond your current beliefs about what you could handle, about what's right to have. As we get beyond that, that's the level of success we can experience. So, and that's tapwithbrad.com/success. And then you can find all kinds of
Awesome. And we'll have
resources
that in
there.
the show.
Thank you.
That's perfect. And we'll have that in the show notes as well. So, Brad, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.